Hi, and welcome to the Wiggin Sessions. I'm your host, Addison Wiggin. Today we have our science advisor, Ray Blanco. He's joining us once again. Welcome, Ray. It's good to see you.
Great to be here, Addison. Always a pleasure doing these sessions with you.
How's it going down there? You're in Florida, right?
Well, it's hot, it's muggy. We've had a lot of rain the last few days. Good for the mosquitoes.
Not so good for us.
Yeah, not so good for us. Yeah.
Let's get started. I want to do a quick overview or catch up with you on the pandemic itself. Since we last talked, we've had the emergence of the Delta variant. Kids have gone back to school, and there's been a debate about whether they should be wearing masks. Is a big freaking political nightmare all over again. Whether they work or not doesn't seem to really matter. And then also we have new mandates from the president just this past week about, or at least proposals. It hasn't been passed yet, but companies under over 100 people, employees, will have to get the vaccine or get tested regularly. So I want to get your idea or your reaction to a presidential mandate, which sounds insane to me.
Yeah.
Democracy. And wait, one more thing. Ivermectin keeps popping up in these podcasts and things that I listen to and stuff that I read. I want to get your opinion on ivermectin. So let's get started. Just why don't you bring me up to date on just your views on the Delta variant and the possibility of another winter surge in the virus.
All right. So, United States, huge country. Things can be very different from one place to the next. So, Florida's been in the news over the last month or two. We had a really bad surge with Delta taking over. That seems to be firmly in the rear view. I'm looking right now at our 7-day moving average. We peaked here, good 3 weeks ago. We plateaued, and our cases have been falling, and nationally the cases have been falling. Kind of weird because we didn't see this kind of a peak in a lot of northern states like we've seen in Florida. It's been kind of a southeastern phenomenon, although cases have ticked up elsewhere. Are we over Delta? I think it depends to a large extent on where you live. Here in Florida, like I told you, it's hot, it's muggy, it's rainy. The way you guys live in winter up north, we kind of live like that in summer down here. We tend to stay indoors where it's air conditioned and comfortable. That might have something to do with the fact that states like mine have seen a lot more COVID-19 over the last couple of months than some of the northern states have. Again, not a certainty, but a very strong possibility. So it's possible that states like mine have peaked, but other states up north in the Northeast, where it gets colder now, it's going to start getting cooler. People are going to start going indoors more. We might see an uptick there. None of this is for certain. Yogi Berra once said, predicting is really hard, especially about the future. But so I'm cautiously optimistic that we've peaked on a national level, but we could still see some regional flare-ups, especially in areas that haven't gotten hit that hard. We've had parts of the world that didn't get hit that hard in previous waves, and now they're getting slammed. Like Southeast Asia is really having a hard time dealing with the Delta variant. Cases are just going through the moon there. So I think nationally, I think the peak is behind us, but we still could see some parts of the country where you'll see cases accelerate.
Yeah, it seems like we've entered into this this kind of holding pattern where everyone's just used to the pandemic and they're just dealing with mask mandates and they've kind of leveled, at least here in Maryland, people have just developed a routine that deals with the pandemic. It seems like the forever pandemic. Do you see any new variants? We heard about the MU variant, the MU variant that was in England a couple of weeks ago.
So that was first identified in Colombia. I think nationally is about 1% of cases, if that. They say it may have some escape mechanisms from our current batch of vaccines. Honestly, it doesn't look that bad yet. It's a variant of interest, not of concern. So it's still wait and see mode about whether we're going to get another wave of mu. I feel like we're not. I feel like Delta, once it's done tearing through the system, it may be the last big wave. We'll see.
Yeah.
And then, but that doesn't mean we're rid of this thing. We're probably going to have to live with it, like we live with the flu every year. It's going to be endemic. There's going to be new variants every year. It's going to be a dull roar rather than this acute situation.
Yeah, and we've learned how to deal with flu. It seems like we should be able to move into life as normal.
Yeah.
And just deal with the coronavirus as we do with other things. So let's talk about the mandate to get vaccines then, or even the mask mandate. Those are two kind of political hot buttons. I personally, I think that like I'm vaccinated, my wife is vaccinated, my kids are vaccinated. We made that choice on our own, and I do think that it should be a personal choice. It should be up to the family to decide. It should be mandated by counties, states, or the federal government. And yet here we go, where it's like a power grab for the federal government to mandate what people do with their own health choices. That seems like a very reckless kind of, especially if the legislature in the federal government or in each of the states goes along with it. That's a very dangerous trend in my view.
Well, I live in the wonderful laissez-faire state of Florida, one more time. And, a lot of the stuff we thought was real and true hasn't held up to the cold, hard light of reality. So, for example, I interviewed Peter Chai out of the University of Tennessee, the inventor of the N95 mask. And he showed solid laboratory data of how well the N95 blocked these airborne particles that could carry the virus, aerosols and so on. He also showed how an ordinary surgical or cloth mask, not as good as an N95, but it does block X percentage, which it's a numbers game, right? So that's the lab. And then there's the real world where we're all walking around, interacting, touching our masks, moving them around. There's air gaps everywhere. You're touching your face, you're putting it on, you're taking it off. And there's been real world studies showing it doesn't make much of a difference.
Yeah.
So,
well, I like this. I like this scenario. We went out to lunch yesterday, and we're walking on the street, no mask, and there's no outdoor mask mandate in Maryland, but there is an indoor mask mandate. So we put the mask on, walk through the door, and then we sit down at the table that's right next to the door, and then take our masks off. Like they won't let you in the door unless you put the mask on, but as soon as you're inside, you take the mask off. It doesn't seem to make much difference at all.
And the arbitrariness of things invites a total disrespect for our institutions, authority, the law, and all this kind of stuff. It's been a real problem. It's been extremely politicized. And then we got the mandate that you mentioned, and it's really politicized, this issue. I don't think it's going to be very helpful if the president's goal is to get more people vaccinated. This is just going to harden opposition to vaccination, because Americans constitutionally, we don't like being told what to do. Okay, we've got a certain conception of we're an individualistic society. We talk about our Declaration and our Constitution and how our institutions are supposed to protect our liberties. And here you got the chief executive of the federal government saying he's very disappointed in you, that you have, hey, it doesn't work that way, buddy. All right, it's not for you to be disappointed in the people. You work for us. We're the ones that can be disappointed in you if we don't like the job you're doing. So the mandate, I think, is going to be very counterproductive. The lawsuits are going to fly. First of all, this is not going to happen right away. OSHA's got to draft, because he's using OSHA to do this. OSHA's got to draft this. The rule doesn't make a whole lot of sense the way he said it. If you have more than 100 employees, hey, I work from home. I'm endangering nobody. What if I have natural immunity? My daughter caught COVID a month and a half ago. What if I've been exposed and I have natural immunity? And I can prove that. Why should I have to be vaccinated and things like that? So
yeah, I was thinking about that too. There's a lot. I mean, we live in an information economy. Everyone's been working from home for almost 2 years now. Like, how are you going to mandate? How are you going to even do checkups on people that are working remotely? A lot of people moved out of the cities and they're living like in the countryside or in suburbs, and they don't ever intend to go back into the office. but they might work for a corporation that has a couple thousand people. Like it's kind of a dumb idea.
Last week, we took my 9-month-old son for his checkup and everything. And the nurse practitioner who's been the person that sees him, and my daughter who's 3 years old. So she's been our kind of our family doctor for years now. She says next time she might not be there because she is very against taking one of these mRNA vaccines. She doesn't want to take it, and she's willing to quit to take it.
Yeah.
So, you know, what's going to happen if you got a lot of people that just, you know, even 10, 20% of people. I just read an article today. There's a hospital in Texas where the CEO of the hospital says he thinks 20-25% of the people are going to walk. He's going to have to shut the hospital down. And Biden's saying, if you don't comply, we're going to cut off your Medicare and Medicaid money. And this is a poor part of Texas. Okay. Everybody's on it, right? So it's you know, it's going to create more problems than it solves. I don't think it's going to push vaccination numbers a lot higher over what would happen otherwise. And it's going to create a lot of resentment and anger. Maybe this is just a political ploy to distract from the you know, the debacle that was the Afghanistan withdrawal. I don't know. It might be just a cynical political maneuver to change the conversation. But like I said, this thing can't be implemented for a while. Once the rule is written, there's like, I think 75 days before it actually goes into effect. And as soon as it's written, they're going to sue the pants off of it. So who knows how long this thing gets held up in court. By the time this thing gets resolved one way or the other, I think Delta is going to be firmly in the rear view, and we may be back to, you know, where we were, you know, at the beginning of the summer, where we just have a trickle of cases and, you know, steady declines. So, you know, and the vaccines have been imperfect. So unfortunately, we had really high hopes for it. The protection is far from perfect. One good thing you can say about it, it does appear to be protective against severe cases of COVID. So there's definitely that in its favor. But, you know, a lot of people just constitutionally, they're just dead set against it. When you tell them you got to do it.
I would put myself in that camp. Like, I think, like I said, I took the vaccine, my family, we got them all vaccinated. My wife's probably the most likely to be in kind of a high risk category, given her own health history. But that wasn't really the reason. We take vaccines for all kinds of things, like, you know, whatever, tetanus. I stepped on a piece of glass a couple months ago. To update my tetanus. You know, we take medicine for all kinds of things, and we take it in the arm for all kinds of things. So I'm not really opposed to the vaccine itself, but having any kind of government control, it's a personal decision. Like, you can't tell me whether I put something in my arm or not.
I'm 100% in your camp. Yeah, I agree.
I think there's a lot of people that are in that camp.